that moment changed my life, right? It really did. I remember, I totally get emotional, but it changed my life. But
when I see people cry,
I know. I don't know why I'm crying.
Yay Networks.
Hey guys, welcome back to episode 3 of Togethermess. Like I said, I still feel self-conscious now. Every time I say, I know, but now I feel like I say it weird because I feel like I'm trying.
Togethermess isn't a word, so it takes some getting used to.
I know, but I feel like I have to do the pause and make sure I say mess. But anyways, today we are going to talk about basically how we got to Denver with Jeff's job, talking about Daily Blast Live.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it last week. I said I'd go into a little bit more detail of getting the job when we were living in LA, and I think that's what we're going to kind of touch on today because there's a lot that goes into the story. A lot of people think you move to LA and things just work out, and that's pretty much the opposite of what happens.
Yes. And I feel like a lot of times LA is a very tough city. And I feel like a lot of times when people go to LA, you fail.
Yes,
and
a lot.
I mean, actually, you went the first time to LA and failed. I'm not saying that in a rude way, but you went back home.
I think I touched on it on episode 1, right?
Yeah, you went back home and then you were like, no, I want to go back out there. I want to try it again. Big Brother helped.
Definitely.
And gave you that push, a little bit of notoriety, if I'm saying that right. Yeah. And then we went back to LA.
Which was a big decision, actually, for both of us.
Exactly. I never crossed the Mississippi before.
Before Big Brother,
yeah. My only traveling was going to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
You just kept going east and east. So this was your first time west other than Big Brother or living anywhere else.
Right. And so I think this is the perfect story to talk about because life is not perfect. You're going to go through ups and downs. And what we're about to talk about was probably one of the lowest we both felt in a long time, and we'll explain that along the way. But I think it's just an encouraging episode, just not to give up and to keep chasing after your dreams, and even if you keep getting beat down over and over again. So we'll start. I'll let you start it off.
Well, it leads me, this story partially leads me to like my philosophy on life now, because the biggest letdowns and what you think are the hardest moments in life are the biggest life lessons that make you who you are today. So I try to teach myself that every day and remind myself that, and I'm going to instill that into my kids, but they're going to have to go through ups and downs, right? So this is a story about ups and downs and how we actually got to Denver and I got the job on Daily Blast Live. So we'll start with Lawson's Born. You had Postpartum, which we're going to do a whole episode on because you're so open about it, and I think a lot of people need to hear that. But we're going to go a different direction today. So you're struggling because we have a baby.
Have Lawson. I was working at a hair salon, and
not to cut you off, I was thinking 2016. I'm like, wait a second, that's way early. I've been at this job for almost 7 years, so that's actually the perfect timeline.
Yeah,
I just didn't even
realize
here
in 2017.
I didn't even realize it in my head when I said it. I was like,
because Lawson.
I know that's so.
You can go by his age.
That's so crazy. I didn't even put that together. We've been here a long time. But yes.
So I was working at a hair salon. A lot of people knew I was working down in Santa Monica, and I worked up until I think I was 8-9 months pregnant. It was like until my belly got so big that it was getting wet at the shampoo bowl. And then I was like, all right, I need to stop. And my feet were swollen. And
because of the water, not because your water broke.
Oh, yeah.
I just powered through, finished the blow dry.
So I stopped working. And it was just so expensive. And basically, I would be working to pay for daycare. So my job turned into mom duty, full-time, stay-at-home mom. And then you can tell.
Right, so it was rough. Like you said, we had a tiny apartment, having a baby really for the first time. It's tough. I mean, having a kid is tough. I mean, it was
an adjustment.
Yes.
We were used to getting in Ubers at 10 o'clock at night and going wherever we wanted to, hanging out with our friends, coming home at 2 a.m. and sleeping until 9, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then when you have a kid, and none of your friends have kids, that's difficult because it's, hey, Jeff, we're all going to this bar. Let's go out. And then you're like torn because you're like, well, I do want to see my buddies. I've been with Jordan so much, but she has nobody. No one here has kids. So I felt like alone. Okay.
Yeah. And like, to give you an idea, our bedroom, did you mention that already? Like, half of it was ours and the other half I painted as a nursery.
We can show you guys a picture of what you painted.
Well, you don't have to say that. It'll just pop up in the edit. Like right now, they'll be showing a picture.
Oh, okay. It's just a wall.
But yeah, no, but so that's, to give you an idea, that's how small it was. Half was the nursery, half was our bedroom. It was so tiny. So in those quarters with anybody, with 3 people or 2 adults and a child, it's going to get rough, right?
Right.
So times were not the best, right? But we were powering through. So I had at the time, and not to like talk, I'm not trying to get Hollywood here, but there's different agents, okay? So I had a commercial agent, obviously for commercials, a print agent for, magazines and any print work that you see online, and then I had a hosting agent. And so there's 3 different agents, so you go out for 3 different types of jobs, depending on what agent calls you. And my print agent and my commercial agent were the same. It was CESD, and it's no shame to them or whatever. And it was CESD print and commercial. And I was with the print department for a long time, who's friends of a friend,
yes.
right? Yeah. She really treated me good and helped me out. And she knew we had a baby, so she was trying the best to get me jobs, And that at that time, my only major income was working for Big Brother, CBS.com, doing like the interviews and then whatever projects they had throughout the year. So that was my income, to be honest with you, between little small jobs back and forth. So we have a baby. Obviously, you need more money when you have a baby. And I was with William Morris, which is a huge, if you know anything about the business, that's a big agency, right? And about a week apart, I think maybe my commercial agent called me first, or vice versa. I don't even remember. My commercial agent called me and said, hey, Jeff, we got some bad news. We're not going to renew your contract. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, okay, I understand. I wasn't booking a lot of stuff. And I'm like, I get it. And just let it go. I'll find a new commercial agent. And then a week later, literally a week later, my William Morris calls me and said, hey, I hate to do this to you, but we got to part ways. It's just, you're not booking enough for us to keep on the payroll. They don't pay you anything until you book a job, and then you give them a percentage. That's how it works. But they let me go because they thought it was a waste of time, wasn't a good fit. And I've been let go from a couple other, it just happens. It happens, right? It wasn't the fit. So I get let go from 2 of my 3 agents in a week. Me and Jordan aren't getting along. She has postpartum. We have a newborn baby, which this is my income. And it was the first time I was like, man, I might have to do something else, or we might have to get out of here. And, I got to take care of my kid now. This isn't the LA that I used to know with my buddies. This is like, I have a family now and I have to step up and be a man. I know that's probably not appropriate in today's age, but I still consider. Go ahead.
No, but I have to say this. Jeff's buddies I got so close with his friends. I felt like were like my brothers.
For sure. They were great.
They were
all of our
awesome.
friends.
And I just want to throw that in there because they were so awesome. I remember we wanted to go to a concert, I think. Was it Jason Mraz? And Louie, our buddy Louie, that y'all know if you watch the YouTube that would do the editing, he was our babysitter. Louie, not married, no kids, nobody. He watched Lawson so we could go to the concert because we didn't have a babysitter. Jeff, and this was when I was going through my postpartum and just angry, and I'm like, just get out of the house. Jeff would have his friends, they would come to our apartment, and the buddies would help. One of them would have the diaper bag. Jeff would have the stroller. And I remember y'all would just walk down to the closest bar and just put Lawson up there with you guys and just hang out. So I'm forever grateful for your friends who we still keep in contact.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like the best guys. I one time the car, I couldn't get it to start. So I don't know what happened to it. I called Louie. He would be right there. Scotty, Swain, all those guys.
Yeah, if you're ever in LA, it's Hara Sushi. We lived right across the street from there. And then Bar Food, which isn't there anymore. But they were literally across the street. And then the owner of Bar Food would like hold Lawson and like, we'd have a couple drinks and then like everyone pitched in. So the support that we got over there was amazing. That was like, it's very touching to me even to this day. Like they knew we were going through a hard time. I get emotional.
I know, I can tell. You always know if Jeff's getting emotional, your nostrils always sweat.
Well, we did. We had so much support, right? But it's not what people think. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're on Big Brother."
Gets so emotional.
I don't care. People are just like, "Oh, you had an easy path. You met Jordan on Big Brother, and everything was just handed to you." That's not how it is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's not.
not.
You see the good times on TV. You don't see when you haven't seen me in a year what happened in my world.
And can I say this? So many people think because you're on a reality show, you're rich. That's such a lie.
Or a daytime talk show.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither of them are true.
We're doing all right.
Listen to the story. We're doing a lot better than we were.
Yeah.
And it's a blessing, and I thank God every day for my
But what
blessings.
I'm saying is where we are now, it was hard work with both of us.
Right.
Whether it be me being the stay-at-home mom, doing all the work, it was me that found this house, found the friends, the community, everybody. When we were in LA, it was you that more so had the friends, the community that brought everybody in. So it's always, for us, it's always been a teamwork.
For sure.
Okay, keep going.
I'll
sorry.
keep going.
I keep interrupting.
No, it's good. I like it. Actually, you don't, but no, I do. I'm just kidding. I was thinking about another story with Louis when I was on Home and Family, and so Jordan's like, sometimes she just couldn't. Were you there? What happened with that?
Guys,
and they called Louis out on camera, and they're like, "Is that your kid, Jeff?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my baby boy." And they're like, "Who's that? Your Manny?" Because it was our buddy Louis.
Yes.
He had a call.
Louis the best. I had vomit. You guys, this is terrible. I had vomiting. And I could not stop. And it was like 24 hours. They turned off our water. Remember, I called our landlord, loved our landlord. He was the best. Because
they didn't pay our bill?
Why can't I think of his name?
Roberto.
No, they were working on our apartment.
Oh, good. Because I'm like, I didn't know things were that
tough. And they turned
tough.
off the water. And I was like, Roberto, I'm vomiting and it's filling up pretty quick. I go, when are you guys going to turn on the water? And our apartment was so small, all you could smell was just a vomit. So when I had a vomit, I would just get up and run out the front door of our apartment. We were on the busiest intersection, and I'd run outside and go vomit because I couldn't vomit anymore in our toilet.
So this is a very inspirational podcast so far.
Yeah, but that story with Louis, that was pretty funny. You brought him to Home and Family, and Louis was the babysitter.
Yeah, and he was on camera, too. They put him on camera holding Lawson. It was just funny. But because he helped us out so much, which kind of goes back to, like, the small little community we had of friends, because obviously our family wasn't out there. They came out to when the baby was born, but they can't stay there with,
And all the guys, right after I had Lawson, they were all, Louis, Swain, Scotty, were all right there at the hospital. Rob, Carmen.
Yeah.
I got to give everybody, AB, Katie, like they all came to see
Did you mention
Lawson
Gary?
at the hospital. Gary didn't come. Gary was probably surfing. Gary was
but
surfing.
He's supportive too.
Oh, he's
Scotty,
supportive too.
Yeah, well, listen, we're leaving someone out.
Gary was probably
this
surfing and picking up chicks.
They're not even listening to this
Okay.
thing. But anyways, we had a really good group of friends, Michelle and Kelly.
Yeah.
Like such a cool group of friends. If I'm leaving anybody out, I'm sorry. But it brings me back to, so I would go out and talk to them like, man, this is like real deal now. Like 2 of my agents dropped me. I don't know what I'm going to do. Do I start looking for a different job? UPS, I worked there so many times in my life. I'm like, that's the easy way to go. And I had 2 roads right in front of me. And I was like, I'm going to work out twice a day. I'm going to get back in shape. There's a reason why they dropped me. Sometimes I had a long talk with Mike and Melissa, my old boss, my older boss, Dave Dean, who I'll talk about in other episodes, just like inspirational people in my life. And I started working out twice a day. I'd work out and then do yoga in the afternoon, got my body in shape, got my mind right back in shape. And I'm kind of cutting this short, but took a couple weeks, but I got a new print agent. And so I picked them up, and I never booked a national commercial at this point. And I went out for my first audition, obviously didn't get it. And my second audition, I went out, this was, weeks after. This is weeks after I got let go from my agents. I got myself in really good shape. got that new commercial agent, and then I was looking for a hosting agent. And I went, it's funny when you're at William Morris, again, like I told you, it's one of the top agencies like in the world, but definitely in LA. But it's in Beverly Hills, right? And they take you out to lunch in Beverly Hills and you talk business like you see in the movies, and you get your car validated and all that stuff. That was gone. No coffee, things like that, espressos, nice little agency.
Can I say this? I think having an agent that isn't like a
Let me get there.
Moore. Okay, go.
So all that beautiful stuff that you see on TV, that's real, right? But, there comes a point where it's like, you got to start booking some jobs. So that's gone, right? And I find this through a friend, Danny, through a friend of a friend. He's like, hey, there's this guy. So they're like, try this agency. And it's out in the valley, right? And like, I met this guy. He's my agent now. He's great. And he's like, yeah, man, let's roll the dice. By the way, I went with a lot of other people, and they're just like, Jeff, you're kind of yesterday's news, to be perfectly honest with you. I met with, friends of our friends. So I don't want to drop too many. I'm not putting anybody on blast here. It's business. I get it. But I met with other like commercial agent or hosting agents, and they're just like, Jeff, it's not you. You're kind of a couple of years ago with you and Jordan. And I'm like, I get it. You know what I mean? Totally get it. And this guy who's in the valley gave me a shot. And I was like, listen, man, I appreciate it. I'm going to do all I can for you, And he's like, yeah, I got it. I'm like, do you guys validate? And he's like, no. And I was like, all right, we're starting over here. And so I got the new commercial agent. I got the new commercial agent. I got the new hosting agent. And then I went out on one job. My first job I didn't get, obviously, with the commercial agent. My second job, I booked a National Ford commercial with my new agency, like right off the bat. And I was in shape and my mind was right. And I was like, all right, I could do this. And like, to give you guys numbers, I wasn't making much. And I won't tell you how much I made, but it was between $20,000 and $40,000. Okay. So I'm not trying to, that's just what you make for like a national commercial. And that was a huge
jump.
Not just like relief, you know what I mean? Because I didn't really have any income. So that like really saved us, and it made me like, wow, it really paid off. I finally got something. And then right after that, I booked, I went out on my first audition with my new hosting agency, and it was this show, Daily Blast Live. And it was my birthday weekend. I think you went home.
I was in North Carolina with my family.
Yeah, so you went home, and it was my birthday weekend, and my buddy's like, hey, we're going to take you out for your birthday. And I go, listen, guys, I got to make a decision here in my life. Like, I'm going to stick around. I know Jordan's out of town with the baby. I know I want to party up for my birthday, but I got this new audition. It really could be something. It's out in Denver if I get the job. And I'm just going to stay home and like study these notes and try to do the best that I can. And they're like, we totally understand. And I was like, all right, man. So I was actually at 3rd Street Promenade. I was in the parking garage, and I get a call from my agent. And he's like, hey, man, what's up? And I was like, no, I'm actually just getting a shirt for the audition. I want to look nice. I'm buying a new shirt. And he's like, dude, they cut you from the list. And I was like, they did? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, my God. I'm like, well, dude, I've been studying. I'm like, I'm about to buy this new shirt. I got a haircut. Like, I'm like, what do I do, man? I'm laughing because I'm really like crying inside. And I was like, well, listen, here's the deal. I'm like, just call them back and say, could you get me in the room? Like, let me just do the audition. I know they want to cut me now, but let me just go face to face with these guys. And he's like, all right, man, I'll see what I could do. And he hangs up, and I think I called you, right? Did I call you yet? I kept a lot of... You hadn't
called... Yeah, you kept a lot
I kept a lot of stuff from Jordan.
I didn't know what was going on. So I didn't know at that time. You didn't even tell me that, because he knew I was already going through I wasn't mentally stable at that time. And so he did not tell me that you got dropped by your agents because you didn't want me to stress anymore. So I didn't know that. I do remember you saying I didn't get the job with Daily Blast Live, but all I want is just to get in the room because I'm good once I'm in the room.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying that, and I don't remember anything else.
So my agency calls me back, and they're like, all right, man, you're in the room. And I was like, oh, man. something's happening here. I feel good about this, you know. You go out on hundreds of auditions, right? And you're just auditioning, but something felt different about this one. And then my buddies call me and they're like, and I went home and I studied and I'm back in the room and I'm all excited. My buddy's like, dude, you sure you just don't want to grab a beer? It's your birthday. I'm like, yeah, let's go out and celebrate. Cause I was happy. So all that talk about me turning my life around, like, yeah, let's go out and have some beers. So I'm like, whatever. I'm like, if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it. And I wanted like positive reinforcement from my friends and let loose a little bit, not just sit home in my apartment and stress about this job. So we went out and had a good time, not too good of a time, right? I had a couple of beers down by the ocean, which is my favorite in the whole world. Get emotional by the ocean. And so I forgot. It was like a 2-day audition with Daily Blast Live. So I went to the audition. It was I think in the Valley somewhere again. And now being at Daily Blast Live, we always like reminisce, like going back in and like seeing all the people in the room. And it was a hotel. So you're kind of in this hotel like lobby area and everybody who was auditioning is in the same room. So I guess what they were doing, I don't know like the whole casting process. That'd be nice to actually hear some of that, talk to someone over there about that. But they were seeing who got along with who, right? And I remember the one person that I like kind of bonded with was Sam Shocker. And if you watch Daily Blast Live, she's the head anchor, the head host on our show. And she was pregnant, like about to pop. And we just had a baby. So I bonded with her and I was like, well, not bonded. I went and approached her. I'm like, oh man, this is so awesome. You're gonna have your first baby. I just had a baby and I'm so proud, you know, of my family. So I talked to her a lot, not knowing she was already in the project. She was part of it.
Yeah.
You know, which I think really helped me out.
Yeah.
Not like I was just being nice, you know? And then a couple other people that I bonded with, Tori was one, Eric. So kind of everybody on the show. So the first day goes by and they start cutting people as you go. And they just bring you in the room and you talk about stories. Again, if you watch Daily Blast Live or any daytime talk show, it's a simulation of what you would talk about on the show. And I remember at the end of the first day or something, or maybe it was the early second day, they're like, oh, we got breaking news. They'd have like breaking news stories. And I was like, all right, cool. And I was like up to date on all this stuff. By the way, at this point, I barely knew what a Democrat and Republican was. I didn't even know. And now that's all we talk about in this planet is politics. I'm like, well, at least I know red and blue, whatever. But at that point, I didn't know a lot. Like I wasn't up to date on all that stuff. And pop culture too. So they're like, they hand me this note and they're like, George and Amol just had twins. I'm like, hey, George and Amol just have twins. And they're like, you mean Amal? I'm like, and they're like, and I'm like, yeah, Amal. I'm like, he had a kid? I'm like, congratulations. And we're like playing it off like it's live, right? And they're like, you mean Amal? I'm like, and they're like, yeah. And they're like, you didn't know George Clooney was married? I'm like, why would that guy get married? He's George Clooney. So that kind of like saved my mess up. But I remember I called her Amal. I'm like, George and Amal or an email. I totally screwed up. I was so embarrassed. But then I covered like with a joke. And if you watch the show, that's exactly what I do right now. Yeah. So I don't know. I thought I was out. I went in the bathroom like, oh my God, I totally bombed that. I'm like, they're going to tap me on the shoulder and I'm out of here. So it was the end of day 2 and we all had drinks, you know, we were at the hotel bar. And the people who stuck around were me, Erica, Tori, Sam obviously didn't. She was already part of the show, but she was pregnant. Al. I mean, it was the people that they picked for the show. So I don't know if the chemistry that they saw afterwards, we had like a drink and Tracy Gold was part of it at the time. This other girl, Ebony. I think we were all in that mix, right?
But I think if you do watch the show, you see they all have... Maybe because you all started together day 1, you all have the chemistry and they talk about hard topics, but you might get you really passionate about something and let's say, because normally you and Tori are the ones that are butting heads and Tori might say something, but you guys, people are like, oh, they don't like each other. You guys love each other. Yeah. And you guys are all have each other's backs and you all are like super close. And my whole point of saying that was they talk about hard topics and they might get into it, but there's respect. It's not
Erica,
like
again, I don't want to get too, we'll talk about Daily Blast Live again later, but Erica, a girl on the show, says it best, like, we fight like family, like we're brothers and sisters. And when sometimes we get mad at each other, but we make up like family, you know? So that's how, if you don't watch Daily Blast Live and it's not on in your city, you could watch it on YouTube. Just look at Daily Blast Live. You could watch it. We're live daily. But getting back to the point of the story. So that last day was my birthday, actually. Mm-hmm. And the funny story, it was down. Now there's only a couple people left, and it started with, I don't know, 40, whatever, I don't know, something around there. And it was me and this other gray-haired guy who I met before. He was friends with our buddy Brian down by the beach, and I called him Smooth Jazz. And he has gray hair, looks very similar to me. This guy was on the radio for a long time, and I was like, looks like it's me or you, Smooth Jazz, you know? And he's like, I know, good luck. And so whatever, we did our last audition, we had our drinks, and I said goodbye to everybody. And I was driving home after I ate, and like everyone's like, you drove. But yeah, it's not like when I'm telling a drink, I don't get smashed. And so I was driving home, and I remember exactly where I was, on Wilshire, right past that veteran cemetery. You know what I mean? Like, to give you, no one might not know, obviously no one's gonna know what I'm talking about. But the phone rang, and it was a California number, and I was like, oh man. And I answered it, and it was our executive producer at the time, and she's like, so how do you feel about moving to Denver? And I was like, what? Now I'm gonna get emotional for sure. But dude, it's just like the mindset of all those months, it's just like coming to, you know, a point, I don't know, that moment changed my life, right? And it really did. I remember, I totally get emotional, but it changed my life. But
when I see people cry,
I know, I don't know why I'm crying. But yeah, and that was it. So I just smashed like a year of my life into, 20 minutes. but yeah, it's like hard work, positive energy.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the friends you surround yourself with, because you have friends that they all believed in that, like positive energy, keep going, keep hustling. It was never like, yeah, it sucks, like just give up. Like they all told you to keep going. And I don't know, and you did it. You know,
yeah, I did.
You did exactly what you said you were going to do. I do remember this. You wrote everything down.
I did.
And you do it every year. And you're like, I want to book a commercial, and then you book the job. So I'll let you dry your tears, and I'll talk.
No, I'm good.
When I was in Charlotte, I want to say that I had to have just landed when you found out, and we were in baggage. I was at baggage claim with Lawson, and I answer my phone, and it's Jeff, and he's like, hey. And I was like, oh, what's up? And he's like, I got the job. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, I got the job. We're moving to Denver. And I was like, what? And I knew nothing about Denver. All I thought about is like, I pictured like Yellowstone, like ranches. I was like, who lives in Denver? I was like, oh man, we're probably going to have this massive home. It's going to be so cheap. It's going to be like country. And then we get here and I was like, oh wait, this is like California.
Yeah.
But I love Denver, by the way. Denver is awesome. Colorado is awesome. And I do the whole time, I didn't know Daily Blast Live was like a TV show. I thought you got a job for an internet show. And so I'm like,
I think a lot of people think it's an internet
show. And I was like, oh, okay. So we were moved here to Denver, and it was the first day you were starting. And I think I asked you something, and you're like, what are you talking about? It's a TV show. It's going to be on TV. I was like, it's a TV show? I got the whole time I thought you were just doing like a cheesy internet show. And then you were like, what do you think I do? Being typical Jeff, and you're like, I gotta go to work. And then
like I said, I don't share everything with Jordan.
Yeah. But
I've definitely shared that with you though.
And then I get back home.
Let me finish real fast
okay.
the story. So I go fishing with my dad every year in Canada. And I was leaving the next day to go fishing. And when I go fishing, it's up in the woods. There's no cell phone service, and I'm out there. Like you paddle in, it's like way out. It's like hardcore fishing. And I didn't have my phone. So they're like, you got the job. And I'm like, you got to fill out this paperwork and all that. And then I go in the bush in Canada. I'm like, the whole time thinking, like, what if they just like replaced me? Or what if they're like, I was thinking the worst, I'm like, what if they just like, oh, we made a mistake or we switched our minds. Smooth Jazz got the job now. And I was like up there for like 5 days. Like, I need to get back to like reality here. Like, let's get out of here. So I couldn't wait to get back. And I called. I'm like, everything cool? And they're like, yeah, of course, But we really did have like, what, a month or?
No, like 2 weeks.
It was fast. It was really fast.
And again, we have all Jeff's buddies. And I'm moving. We had our friend Scotty, who is single and no kids, and Scotty's watching Lawson. He's a baby. Scotty's like, what do I do? And he's country. He's from Memphis. He's so funny. And me, you, Louie, Danny are loading up everything, and we got a U-Haul, right?
Yeah, and they gave me like a budget for moving, and then I gave that instead of getting movers, I gave it to my buddies, and they drove to Denver with all of our stuff, and then we followed behind with the baby in that little car. Yeah,
and then all of our furniture was like banged up and chipped, and I was like, "What the hell happened?" I told Jeff, I said, I think maybe we should have got movers. I go, Louie, and then like banged up everything, but it doesn't matter.
It was all old stuff.
All the I was just going to say down here in the basement is our furniture that was in
so
that
this
apartment.
Is half the couch from our old LA apartment that we shoved in that van or that moving U-Haul.
Yeah, we shoved you guys, our whole apartment fit in that U-Haul.
Yeah, and it's all I know you can't see, but like that TV stand, that chair we got for like Rockin' Lawson. This is the couch we had. Yeah. So it's all of our old apartment down here. But yeah, that's a crazy story that I get emotional every time.
Yeah, but you know, it ended up, it all works out, and this is another thing for me. I get stressed out if things aren't in order. I'm like, oh, gosh.
It all works out if you keep going.
Right.
You know, there was so many chances for me to stop and so many, you know, you have a kid and it's like, that's time. You know, this is it.
But people think, I said this on the last podcast, people think, well, after college, I got to do this. Because for me, that's what I thought, because that's what my parents told me I had to do. You know, if you weren't finding a job right after college, then what are you doing? You're a loser. And it's like, it's not like that. It's, you know, we traveled and we did things, and things might not be in order in the way it turns out. We had a kid before we got married, you know, nothing in our life has been perfect. Everything's been messy.
I was waiting for you to put that together.
Everything's just been messy, but it's always worked out. So like if that is something in your life that you're going through and you're upset, whatever it may be, whether you're just getting married, whether you're just having a kid, maybe you're older, maybe you're retiring, whatever it may be that you're going through, it always ends up working out. Like life is never perfect, and I can't stand people that act like their life is so perfect. And sometimes I do Instagram, I'm on Instagram all the time, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want to quit doing Instagram because everybody just makes it seem like everything's just perfect and life is perfect. And I try not to make it seem that way, even though it probably does look that way because we're always smiling. And
well, yeah, you're not going to put like your worst times, but like, again, mentally you have to know. And I think I don't want to speak for you, but I think I taught you a lot of this, you know what I mean? Because times would be tough and I was I'll be honest, I was very negative. And the way I grew up was, like I said, graduate high school, you either get married or you go to college and you start working. You don't do the route I did. You don't take that way, because my dad, I used to stress him out. He'd be like, Jordan, what are you doing? You can't just party all the time. And he was like worried for both of us. He was like, what are you and Jeff going to do? Yeah. Maybe I can get Jeff a job doing what I do. Like, and I thought about that.
Yeah. And my dad's like, I could get you a job. You'll do great. And Jeff's like, but that's not what I want to do. And it's just sometimes the path and this is something like our kids. When our kids are older, I'm never going to force them. If they're like, Mom, I don't want to go to college, I'll be like, fine. What do you want to do that makes you happy?
Yeah,
you never know when it's your time, when you're going to be gone. And so you need to enjoy each day. You need to be happy. And going back to being, I was very negative because things weren't going my way. So if things weren't going my way and they weren't as planned, how I pictured it, I thought everything was failing. So I'm like, God, I got married, or I'm pregnant now. Now I'm going to look down upon with my family, which no one did. I was scared. I was so scared to tell my grandparents that I was pregnant, you know, because we weren't married and they're very religious. So I was nervous about that. I thought they were going to be like, oh, you know, you're living with somebody before you're married and the whole thing. And I'm getting off topic.
Let me get back a little bit.
Where am I going with that?
What I'm trying to say is, like, if things happen in your life for me, and again, everyone's different, and you might see like these little cliche quotes, but for me, I try to read or listen to something positive every day. If something bad is happening in your life, I always tell myself there's a reason that this is happening to me. Whatever lesson comes out of it, there will be a lesson for you at the end. And a lot of people don't like when people preach them about positivity and things like that. I will go back again, and if you guys like this episode, I have a bunch of other stories like that. But instead of saying both of my agents dropped me, woe is me, the world's against me, that's when I got into shape. So the reason for me getting let go by those agencies was the reason for me getting in shape. And the reason I got in shape got me that job with that Ford commercial. And then maybe it had something to do with Daily Blast Live, or refocused my mind on what's important in my life. So if you're going through something bad out there or a hard time, trust me, there's a reason why you're going through that. You just have to stay positive, weather the storm, keep working hard, and you'll come out the other side a better person.
Yes. And I agree with that. But hang on, let me go back to this.
Do you want to talk about like cherry trees or something?
No, I'm going to talk about, we're going to end it with something funny, and I'm going to make you tell this story.
Okay.
And that's how we're going to end. But going back to before I got super off topic, you did.
Which, if you guys like this, you get used to it.
Yes. You did help me though, because I was super negative and I would just ignore you. And then I kind of started
It's hard. A lot of people don't want to hear that stuff. I get it. Yeah,
I did though start listening to you, but even though I would pretend like I'm not listening to you, and I think that helped me as well, because you'd be like, read these books, sit here, and then it would make me mad that you would tell me to read these books. But like I said,
I get it.
You have helped me, and that I think has helped our relationship, all that. But we are going to end this on a funny note, and you're going to tell this story because you always share it sometimes in your casting story. You got to end it on the casting story.
Which one?
The night, it was at Nike. The one when
Oh,
everybody's...
no, I'll tell funny,
Yes.
the audition stories?
It's hilarious.
I'm not going to waste that on this episode. This is a great episode.
But we're going to end it back to casting. And
No, I got a million.
It's
Well,
hilarious.
I know it's hilarious. I'll save it for another time. You got to tune in. It's called a teaser. You got to tease the audience to come back.
You're not even going to remember.
I tell it, that story's famous. I've told it a million times.
Funny. Okay, well, I guess...
I told it on my show, and all my buddies in LA are like, that's my favorite story ever. But yeah, it's about casting. I'm not going to tell it right now. But I have some, again, not everything's easy in LA, and I have some super embarrassing, funny stories, again, that are embarrassing at the time, and you're mortified. You almost feel like you're like sexually abused. Like when they're like, hey, do you want to dance a little bit in this? And you're like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And you go to your car and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm naked, and oh my, it's just the worst feeling. So
Jeff had me go one time. You left. You were doing Big Brother after show interviews, and you go, Jordan, we have to go right across the street. I got to do an audition, and I was with him. I had never done an audition in my life because, I was scouted with Big Brother. So I went with him to an audition. Oh my God, it is the most cringy thing. I go, this is what an audition is. And remember, I was just sitting there watching.
All right, we'll get into audition stories, like I said.
Super cringy.
We could have ended that, like the way we ended that was like so nice. And then it's like, it just derailed.
Okay, well, y'all can cut this.
No.
We'll end it.
No, you end it. So what I'm saying is we'll tell those stories later on.
Just stay positive.
That wraps it up. All right, well, that's good. That does it. It wraps up. Just stay positive. That's it. Get a tattoo, a bumper sticker. Tell your friends, like us, follow us, right?
Yes, and you can follow me, BB Jordan Lloyd, on Instagram. And you go.
I might change my Instagram handle to, what did you say? I forgot already. Jeff Schroeder 23. And again, follow us, like us.
Leave comments on my Instagram.
Yeah,
let us know if you like these episodes or not.
Yeah, let us know what you guys want to talk about. We're reading the messages. We're always listening. And yeah, be positive out there.
Have a good day.